Please welcome Anna Williamson and her partner Alex.
Nigel, you're like our counsellor. Yeah, you do couples counselling for us. And we wouldn't think of anyone else by you, Nigel. So really our sort of foundations of our relationship were based on grief, because I spiralled into an absolute pit of postnatal depression and birth trauma after having him. And really, Alex was left holding the fort. Alex was left picking up the pieces.
In that moment, I think we both thought that Anna was not going to make it. I made a promise to Enzo and I said, "Don't worry, kid, I'm going to look after you." And I wish there was something like Dadventures and like your support group that you have to be able to reach out to other dads.
Is he going old school 80s dad?
Yeah. As every chance. He's probably spent too much time with my dad. As the partner, please talk to your partner.
Welcome to the Dadvengers Podcast, sponsored by Tonka, because being tough is all about getting out and playing. I'm Nigel Clark, TV presenter and performer, and I'm also host of this wonderful podcast where we explore different aspects of parenting and hone in on the dad point of view. And mums, grandparents, carers, we want you involved in the conversation too. So let's talk, let's laugh, let's share the things we find difficult and become the type of dads we really want to be. I'm really excited for today's episode. Firstly, because we've got a couple on, so we can talk daddying from both the mum and dad point of view, but also because I get to chat with an ex-partner in crime / TV antics, if you want to put it that way. She's a TV presenter, author, podcaster, therapist, and Coming to America fangirl.
Yes,
She's brought along her better half, the man who has to deal with the whirlwind that she is. Please welcome Anna Williamson and her partner Alex.
Oh, thank you, Nigel.
Thank you, Nigel.
And for everyone that's going, like, what? Alex will know this because he knows me. Yeah, I forgot to tell you this. So Nigel is literally up there with my brothers, my real brothers, when it comes to loving Police Academy and Coming to America. Nigel was one of the only other human beings that get that.
Yeah. We were there.
We were there, Nigel. Best films ever. Fact. It's so like, you're my telly husband, one of my telly husbands, Nigel. You know that.
Yes. We had some time.
Oh,
we had some time.
We've got.
I know what you're dealing with, Alex.
Do you? I feel sorry for you.
No, I feel sorry for you. You signed up for life. I just signed up for a series.
It's true.
Come on now.
Actually, you two are quite similar in the fact that you're both quite laissez-faire. And I think that's a good dynamic with me. I think you can't have two me just going too much, or you're just going to have a breakdown.
Annas.
Yeah.
Two Annas. Come on now. Nobody wants that.
No one needs that.
So by laissez-faire, do you just mean that we just have to let you get on with what you want to do?
Yeah, kind of.
That's the way to control you. That's the way to handle you, really, isn't
it?
Just to let you do what you need to do.
Yeah, let me be me.
And make the bed correctly, right? You fold it down for a little bit first before you then go back and then...
You've obviously listened to our podcast, Nigel.
I have listened to your podcast. It was good research for me to feel the dynamic, to feel what you go through, to see what you've talked about.
Oh, we're always bickering, Nigel. We're always flipping bickering.
No, but the thing that I really loved about just doing the research into you two as a couple, because of course I know Anna and I've seen little bits on socials and stuff, but to hear the stuff on podcasts it's really lovely because you've got this understanding and you can tell that you've built your relationship. Do you know what I mean? You've gone through the highs, you've gone through the lows, you've respected, wow, I need to step off from you for a second because you're not in a good mood, and vice versa the other way around. To get to a point where now you can look at each other and go, do you know what? Oh, you're there right now. Do you need some help? Not need some help? Where are we at? And that is a beautiful thing as a couple.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, mate. Do you know that is so true, actually, Nigel. And this is the first time we've ever done anything together like this, actually, as in kind of like talking together without us leading it or just bickering.
Right. Yeah. Well,
having
someone else there.
It's like, Nigel, you're like our counsellor. Yeah, you do couples counselling for us, and we wouldn't think of anyone else by you, Nigel.
But no, you're definitely right. We have got to that place now where we do recognise where someone's either having a bad day or they've just had enough, or a lot of the times it's when we've had enough with the children and we need that other parent to step in and go, okay, let's calm this down. Let's,
Yeah.
I think you're going a bit too mad.
You've lost
there.
your shit. Mummy's lost her rag.
You're starting to lose it. Let's step in before you completely lose it. So yeah, we definitely have built that relationship.
And actually, I think you're spot on, Nigel, in the fact when you say about we've built it, because everyone builds their relationship, as we know. I mean, you and Melina, you've been together flipping hell donkey's years, way longer than.
Wow.
I mean, I was messing about when still when you and Melina got together. You've been together, since time, but. We got together. We were quite a whirlwind romance, really, weren't we? We kind of we were platonic before we started dating each other. We actually knew each other more in a work capacity. So there, it wasn't like any of this sort of, you met each other in a bar and you started dating, and we knew each other before that for about a good few months. But then we were hit with like loads of relationships, and I'm sure you're the same, Nigel. With you guys. Everyone's got their own personal story to tell. When we got together, only about 6 months later, Alex's dad died suddenly in an accident. And so then we had to, so really our sort of foundations of our relationship, of our marriage, we've been together 7 years now, married for nearly 6, were based on grief, which is, when you've talked loads about it recently, which is a whole new ballgame, because I don't actually really know Alex out of grief, if that makes sense. So
you did for 6 months, so that was
well, yeah, 6 months. Yeah, but everyone's making up those first 6 months, aren't they? That's when everyone's
the honeymoon
6 months is the honeymoon period.
It's when you're having sex all the time. You're not getting into deeper meaningfuls. It's all physical. It's animalistic. And then we were sort of faced with this. Oh shit! This massive, too much. Probably too much.
Probably.
Oh,
No, it's all good.
It's all fair.
Nice.
It's all good.
It's nice. Trust me, it's cool. So it has been a bit of a, and then obviously throw kids into the mix, and as we know, this is the whole point, obviously, of Dadventures as well. What a massive change that is to relationships. So yeah, we're constantly evolving.
I think, building a relationship around something that is so pivotal in your life, like that, going through grief or having a baby, or the big life things that can happen to you. If you're building your relationship foundations around that, it leads to a stronger relationship. Even if you were to, and I'm not saying that, touch wood, you guys are going to stay together forever, but even if you'd gone on to separate things, there would have been a bond about you going through that together that would have remained no matter what.
No, I was just going to say, it could have been quite easy for me to have gone, you know what, actually, I'm just going to go traveling for another year or something like that and just forget about everything, and try and deal with my grief in that way, but for me, I actually felt, my relationship with Anna was right, and she was the one, and I that grief actually kind of accelerated the relationship for me, and I thought, life is too short, it can just be taken away like that, so look, this is what I want to do, and let's just go for it, and that's when I started looking at rings and thinking of the best time to ask her to marry me. So
it was pretty quick.
There you go. No messing around.
Chicken though, Nigel. So I was obviously went for it like a rat up a drain pipe. I was like, yes, I do.
Yes. So the thing is, for our viewers, listeners, and for me as well, I want to go back. I want to go way back into your past. So I'm going to start with you, Alex. What was your childhood like? Where did you grow up? And what were your parents like?
So I was born in Sicily. So
right.
Bit of context, my dad was Sicilian, still is Sicilian, but I don't know how to address it when he's passed away. But yeah.
Does that mean the family are always listening?
Could
always.
Be. Yeah, it could be. So we've got to be careful.
Always.
But yeah, so my dad is Sicilian. Grew up in a village town called Campo Felice, which means happy camp. And then my mum was from. Yeah, I don't know. Not a lot of people are happy there, but anyway. So, and then my mum's from North London, and the story goes that she went on holiday to Sicily, a tourist town, Cefalù, and they met there. And anyway, a few years later, my brother was born, and then I was born. So I was born in Sicily. I grew up there. Well, I stayed there for 4 years of my life, and then moved to Oxfordshire. In a place called Cholsey, which is a very small place near Didcot.
So 4 years in Italy, in Sicily, and then over to no, you just went near Oxford, yeah? So then you were there.
So Oxfordshire, yeah. So I was there, and I grew up there, really. And my family, what was it like? Well, we were the only Italians in the village. So it was quite a strange one, really. Yeah. It was also at a time where, I don't know, obviously a lot of people weren't used to other cultures, it seemed like, in my village.
Okay.
So I felt quite singled out, actually, growing up.
You were the one with the foreign dad, basically.
I was the one with the foreign dad, exactly. And Italians weren't cool, apparently. It didn't seem that way anyway. But so I grew up, and growing up was a bit hard because didn't really know where to fit in, so
I get it. That's very interesting to hear that you were an ethnic minority.
Yeah, exactly.
In your village,
you
were an ethnic minority.
Yeah, exactly. There were no Italians. That had I moved to Hoddesdon or somewhere like that, there were the community's thriving with Sicilians. But no, I was in a little village called Cholsey, and so when I went to school, it was quite tricky because it was always, he's the Italian one, and the girls used to fancy me for it, but the boys didn't really like me for it. So I was always in that kind of scenario. But,
competition, Anna, competition knocking around.
Nigel, competition, exactly. But they just didn't know they just didn't know how great Italians were at that point.
Anna, for you as well, where did you grow up?
So I consider myself very fortunate, particularly as life has gone on, and I've just through our work that we do, I see so many people that can't boast a completely happy childhood, but I did. Parents are still together. They've been married for donkey's years, probably as long as your folks have been together since time, haven't they?
Yeah, mine have been mine must be like, if I'm 40, maybe 50 years, getting on for 40 to 50 years.
Yeah, mine's about coming up 50 years. Side note, your dad, on his birthday, absolute legend dancing. Seriously, I haven't shown you this.
Really?
Nigel's dad, absolute legend.
You got to check those Insta posts.
Check the videos out. The moves Papa has are amazing. But yeah, a very happy childhood, very, very fortunate, very middle class, England, with a cherry on top, parents who sort of weren't, who were doing all right for themselves. We weren't necessarily spoiled, but we didn't want for anything. I'd say a very nice sort of state education, and we grew up in rural Hertfordshire, and I'm really grateful for that. I had a great upbringing.
You should be.
Really grateful for it, with a mum who really was there. She was there particularly all the time. My dad, it was very classic sort of 80s, 90s upbringing in that sense. Dad went to work in London, came back, weekends with him. But it was a really sort of classic, really good upbringing where I felt very nurtured, I felt very supported, and I feel extremely lucky that I benefited from what I had.
What I want to do is frame how your dads were for you. So now we know where you've grown up and where you're at. I want to sort of hear a little bit about what your dads were specifically like, because we're from a generation where our dads, well, mine went to work at like 9, and I think this is what you were alluding to just now, Anna, went to work at whatever time in the morning, came back in the evening, didn't really see him much because like he'd come back late and you'd be going to school the next day, so you got to go to bed early. You might catch him before going to bed, that kind of things. Maybe catch him on the weekends if you're not doing XYZ in your after school activity kind of things, or going to football or whatever it is, just to see what your dads specifically were like, and see how that has fed how you two parent. So maybe you start, Alex, with what your dad was like and what you remember.
My dad, like you mentioned, my dad also worked in the day, so the moments where I most saw him in the week was in the mornings getting ready for school, whilst he was getting ready for work as well. We won't go there with that story, I don't think, Anna. Anna's laughing because there's a story. There's always a...
Please, go on.
Go on.
Right, this is probably a traditional Italian morning routine. My dad would wake up, have a cigarette in bed, and an espresso. Well...
An Italian breakfast. Fag and a coffee.
For anyone who knows when they have a fag and a coffee before breakfast... it starts to get your
laxative.
bowels moving.
Yeah,
And,
of course, that stimulates the old movements.
Yes. So
Gotta do the
I'd be
Italian.
there and brushing my teeth, getting ready for school in the toilet. And we only had one toilet at the end of the kitchen, one bathroom, the end of the kitchen downstairs. And then all of a sudden I could hear my dad coming down the stairs, bam, 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 bam. Alex, non posso aspettare, which means I cannot wait, basically. And he would barge in, open the door, sit on the toilet, and just let loose. And just it would all.
You're
go.
going to learn something. You're going to learn today, Alex. You're going to learn today.
And I'm there brushing my teeth, and I'm thinking, this is disgusting. This is.
It's the shame, is it? It's one of your dad's legacies, really. Is that we
is
always
one of his legacies.
Enzo, and Enzo is my father-in-law's name. Was his morning.
That was the morning routine, yeah. And then soon after that, I would make a swift exit.
Vacate.
Yeah, make a swift exit and go to school. And then when I came back, both mum and dad worked. My mum was a medical secretary, and my dad had various jobs. But from this time, I'm thinking he was training as a psychiatric nurse.
So with that in mind, was he emotionally available to you? Was that side of him open, or was that a side of him that you didn't see? Because I'm just thinking, in that generation, normally you don't see men talking about mental health or getting involved in that. And I know we're going to bring the conversation there later. So I want to hear what your dad was like.
Well, actually, so not until I started reading myself about NLP did I realise what my dad was going on about sometimes when he used to talk to me about mental health. And he used to say, sometimes when you're in a place, and you don't feel comfortable, so essentially feeling a bit anxious, but he didn't use those words, but he essentially don't feel comfortable. He said you have to go to your own place, make your own world. And that, when I started learning about NLP, and Anna knows more, so correct me if I'm wrong, but when I started learning about NLP myself, that's exactly what he was describing. In those situations, those social situations where you don't feel comfortable, just be in your own world. And that was amazing, just talking about it and thinking about it now, that was amazing because, I knew nothing about that and I didn't know he knew about that. But I have these moments now, obviously through grief, that I think about all these things that he said to me. And I was like, yeah, that he was right. That really helps with me, when I am feeling a bit socially anxious. So I go to my own kind of world, my own happy place, I guess, and it really just calms me down. So yeah, he was quite open.
So he was giving you a foundation in things without you even knowing, and without him being explicit about it, really.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really unheard of. For our generation, it's very rare to have men talking about that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So maybe that is why, and we'll get into this in a little bit, why you're a little bit more in tune with your mental health and able to assess it and self-care and also you're with this one who's probably sitting there going, Alex, you might want to take a look at yourself.
I'm always doing that, Nigel.
Sure.
Honestly, it's the one thing I need to I deliberately don't. But I didn't actually know that about your dad.
No, it just popped in my head now thinking of it. But so
for what you've always said about your dad, and sadly I only ever met my Enzo, Alex's dad, a couple of times before he passed away, but he always seems like, from the way everyone talks about him, a very emotionally demonstrative person.
But he was very philosophical as well. I think he thought of himself as a bit of a philosopher, but he wasn't. But he was,
bit of a Del boy.
all of his kind of ways were like that, and he would try and teach me things, that kind of thing. So
that's awesome, dude. That's really, really awesome. Anna, what about your dad? What we got going on there?
Oh my God. Have you ever met my dad? Maybe you have.
No, I haven't.
There is no man in this world that compares, obviously Alex is up there, and obviously Enzo, but as in our son. But no, my dad is on such a pedestal for me. He's my favourite person. He is my I love this topic, Nige, truly, because you saying that about your dad and about how that then reflects on who we are as people and then how we parent. My dad is, and you know him very well now, he's like a surrogate dad. He's kind, he's gentle, he is very wise. I don't think I've ever had a crossword with my dad in my life. I listen to him. He is the first person. If anyone needs to reason with me, they go to Dad to talk to me. It's true. Yeah. It's always get Dad to talk to Anna, because he's my rock, really. He's always been very constant and very consistent, but always. And the one thing that my dad, the main thing really that I've taken always from Dad, and perhaps it does tap into my parenting, but also my career really, and the person I am. Number one thing in life was fairness and equality. And he always said, manners cost nothing, etiquette costs nothing, kindness, being a decent human being. And ever since we grew up, it was never about what we had or what we didn't have. It was about how we treated other people. You treat people as you wish to be treated yourself. And I go for myself and my brothers with that. That's something we've always held close to us, is that, we cannot abide any form of discrimination or any unfairness or any inequality. Of course it exists. It's not fair that it exists, but we've always very staunchly made sure that that is something we hugely repel against, and try and be all inclusive. It always has been.
Wow. Two awesome dads to have learnt from, and now to kind of emulate and bring into your own parenting styles. We are so happy to have Tonka as our sponsor this series. Basic Fun's Tonka collection is packed full of fun vehicles for kids who want to get out and get tough with their toys. So dads, you've got no excuse. Grab that mighty steel classic truck. It's time to head to the sandpit for some tough play. So, cut to later on, you have your first child, Enzo. Brought him into the world. And it wasn't the easiest of times, was it?
No, it's dreadful. It was dreadful. Your biggest fan, Enzo. Seriously, we always threaten him with you. Gonna get Nigel on the phone. It was a much wanted pregnancy, wasn't it? And we were very lucky. We got pregnant pretty quick, probably a bit quicker than we would have ideally. It was like, got married now, best get going. Oh, okay.
Well, you kept saying, it takes a good year to try. Yeah, exactly. You kept saying, statistically, Anna would read the statistics. Statistically, it takes about a year to get pregnant.
It took a couple of goes, Nige, and we were in. Boom. Whoop, whoop. Happy though, okay, fine, we're having a baby. But yeah, I suffered with terrible mental health issues, with terrible perinatal anxiety, didn't I? Which was undiagnosed at the time. I speak very openly about having an anxiety disorder, which is very well managed. But and then I had a terrible birth with him. Unfortunately, we went over by 2 weeks. It was very long. It was very painful. It wasn't what we were expecting, because I don't know how, I can't remember, Nigel. I've asked you about your birth and I can't remember. My apologies. But Enzo went back to back with labour, so it was quite difficult to get him out. So then we ended up with a theatre forceps delivery, which was a whole new ball game of trauma. And it was the only way the main way I describe it, and I have gone through an awful lot of healing over his birth, actually, and I'm totally fine with it now. I am, but it took me a very long time, because I spiraled into an absolute pit of postnatal depression and birth trauma after having him. And really, Alex was left holding the fort. Alex was left picking up the pieces. And for both of us, I remember I wasn't really conscious when he was born. And I really remember feeling, him coming out. And you'll know it more than me, because you were the one that was there. But I do remember having this overwhelming feeling of sadness and disappointment that this much hyped thing, your first child, that's something I wanted to do together, was so detached from each other. It was me in this and Alex sort of on his own, and it wasn't this moment. And I do really remember
that was a tough moment.
I felt so pissed off. Yeah, go on. What was it like?
Well, I was just going to say, in that moment, I think you obviously separately, but we both thought that Anna was not going to make it. Like Anna had those thoughts, and I had that thought, because it was a really terrible time, and I could see some blood and stuff things that I didn't expect to see, and I was in that moment, I did think she might not make it, and I made a promise to, so I feel a bit emotional, actually.
Oh, it's okay.
Sorry about that.
The Italian in him.
I made a promise to Enzo, and I said, don't worry, kid, I'm going to look after you. Emotional over this, but yeah.
Okay.
But in that moment, that was that was a tough moment, and that was
Mm.
what I was kind of thinking in my head, and saying to him, if it's just me and you, then I'm going to be the best dad I can.
Well, you have been.
And luckily, it didn't happen that way. So it's great because we had both each other to support each other, going through that tough time. So,
but I think this is a great point, and really, tell Nigel what you said before the pod, because Alex really, and I know we've discussed this, Nigel, before as well on mine, but which is why dads are so important, and what you're doing with your Dadventures is so important, because sure, the mums go through the birth experience, and it's bloody awful at times, and it can be amazing, but for us it was awful. But I do think I have so much empathy for the dads that are just basically left out in the cold, and then those moments thinking, well now what, and there was a very real moment when I birthed Enzo of me not making it. It was a quite traumatic moment, and it's really weird. You've never actually told me that you said that or made that promise, but I remember lying there and thinking to myself, my God, I trust this man, and I know whatever happens, I know he will look after this baby. But I just remember feeling very sad in that moment, in my kind of semi-consciousness, that I wouldn't be there for that. And thank God obviously that didn't happen, but what came with that was a really quite upsetting time that happened after that for us both, finding our feet. And Alex really stepped up to it. I was really unwell mentally and physically. I couldn't even fathom motherhood to start with. I was so poorly and detached. And Alex really was the primary carer, which is why why when he's a bugger now, you remember those moments.
Yeah.
But Alex really was the number one carer for our son in all ways, and you found it a very lonely experience.
Very lonely. Yeah, and I think I mentioned, before coming across your podcast and what you do, Nigel, I think I mentioned on ours when we were talking, I said, it doesn't really feel like there's a platform for dads. There's nowhere where it's not like the mums who have their WhatsApp groups and they just have people they can meet up for coffees when they're looking after the children. I said, for dads it feels so it's different. It's not like that. A lot of dads go to work, so that's that stereotypical man goes to work, wife stays at home with the baby. So when Anna was at work and I was looking after Enzo in the day, because I was also freelance, so I took some time off, I had no one. It was just me and him. And I wish there was something like Dadventures and like your support group that you have to be able to reach out to other dads and say, look, I'm struggling. It's so difficult. What do I do?
It's so important, and that's why I'm so happy that you just shared that moment that Anna had never sort of and yourself had never talked about, because for other men and other women to see what dads go through, because you being emotional like that is bringing back what you went through in that moment. Now, there'll be a lot of couples out there, a lot of dads, a lot of mums who will have gone through similar things to you and will have had strong emotions like that and will have pushed them down, will have pushed them away, because I've got to be strong, I've got to be here for you, and making those promises on the inside, and then they never come out. And when they never come out like that, it's a pressure. It's an added pressure that you've added to yourself. And that pressure can blow at any moment, at any point, at any time. And when it does blow, it can be dangerous for some people. That's why there are so many men that have committed suicide, fathers that have committed suicide, because they don't have or don't feel that they can take that moment to be emotional, to be vulnerable, to let go. And you having done it just now, if one person listens to this or sees this podcast and sees what you did and opens up to their partner or says, do you know what, I felt like that when you went through your traumatic birth, love, or whatever it is, and they feel more likely to talk, and it stops that pressure cooker rising up and exploding, I'm happy.
Yeah.
Preach it.
I'm so happy for that. So yeah, I want to thank you for having the openness to have that moment with us and to share it with us, because I think it's really important, and I think you'll have helped someone without even knowing it now. And you may even get a message a year, 2 years from now, like, I heard this, and do you know what? Thank you for opening up. So I'm thanking you for that.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak about it, because it's really helped. It just, like you say, it's relieved a bit of pressure off me, and it's given me the opportunity to share that with Anna, which I didn't actually realise that I hadn't shared that.
No, I didn't know. I didn't know you'd said that, but I think you're so right, Nigel. It's because I think these moments, they're so huge, but they motor on so fast, and we get lost in the next thing, the next phase. Oh my gosh, he's not feeding, or this is happening, or that. So you, as you say, you push past them, and we don't know they're important until they suddenly come back out again. And thank you, babe. And it's and it's cathartic to. You might think I'm a bit that I'm like, oh, I'm fine. I have cried many tears.
Yeah.
I've been through a lot of therapy about it. But it is really important, and I think for and it's only when we came out the other side. And I think this is one thing that I feel really strongly about. I don't know if you know this stat, but I think it's 1 in 5 couples break up within the first year of having a baby. And I can totally get that. Get that.
Oh, it is a full-on time.
It's the hardest bit.
Yeah, and I think the stats are way higher for children under 5, because let's be honest, it's bloody hard to find yourselves as couples, and dealing with the kids. I mean, literally just before we came on the pod, Alex was having to finish. Alex has, proper job, as opposed to mine, and was finishing off some late work. So I was doing the kids' bedtime. The baby was having a shit fit. Enzo was being a knob. It was like
that was one of those moments where I had to step in for 5 minutes and just calm Enzo down and Anna down.
Woo, everybody take a chill pill right now.
I needed my inner Alex in at that moment to separate the situation. But yeah, I can't remember where I'm really going with this, but it's important to talk about it, because I think we bypass these things, and it's so important.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned, Alex, that you felt alone in those days, weeks, months afterwards, with Anna going through postnatal trauma and postnatal depression. Did you reach out to anyone? Did you talk to anyone?
No, I didn't actually. I really didn't.
I wasn't expecting you to say yes.
No, I didn't, and I wish I did. I think, now. I still wouldn't now. It's strange. That's what I mean, is there's this stigma attached to it, I think, isn't there? And it's just, my dad friends, we've got a WhatsApp group, but I wouldn't tell them I'm struggling and can anybody help me, or anything like that, or I'm feeling alone and I need to pop round. I wouldn't do that. I just I get on and try and, make myself busy with the kids and struggle through it really until the end, when Anna can come and help me, basically.
Right, but that shows that you've got Anna. You and we've talked about this already, how you guys forged a relationship going through difficult things. So for you, talking to Anna about difficult things, easy. You can go there. I've been there and done that. We've crossed that bridge already. We've broken that barrier down. I've got Anna. There are other couples out there that haven't broken that barrier down because they haven't had a traumatic situation, or they haven't got to that place in their relationship, and then on top of that, they're still feeling like you, that they don't want to talk to their mates about it. So then they're trapped in that cycle. And is there a way for men to get out of that cycle?
I mean, I think you mentioned it. I think you've got to speak to your partner about it. I think you've got to let them know, look, I'm struggling. This is really tough for me, and I for whatever reason it is, and I think you need to share your feelings with your partner, and break down those barriers, because
even if it's even if you're worried about it, and so do you mind me saying about when after we had Elia?
No, yeah.
So Alex was really honest with me. I think you've spoken about before, actually. So I had the trauma first time round, second birth, Eleanora. Brilliant, loved it, hooray! Now I get it. This is what it's supposed to be like. Yeah, what? Well, had a cesarean, got it pulled out. It was lovely. There was no contraction for me, and I was very happy about it.
You weren't risking it this time.
No risking it. And that was all to guard against having another breakdown, and it worked for us. It worked really well. Our decision, it's not for everyone, but it worked for us. But I was loving it. I was really loving the newborn phase. The breastfeeding was going well. Hey, this is good. This is great. I was back doing bits of Let's Go Dating as well. I was feeling like super bloody woman. This was good. I got everything, all my ducks in a row. Second time in, knew what I was doing a lot more. Had my confidence as a mother a bit more. And then it was Alex. It didn't help really that we had a pandemic kicked in when she was a newborn. Alex was also finishing off a degree. He'd gone back and done a full-time degree. And then it was when she was 4 months old. And I suppose I did notice, but not massively so, because I was so into her, but I did notice he wasn't as hands-on as he'd been with Enzo. But I mean, like I say, he'd been very hands-on with Enzo, because Enzo would not have been fed if you hadn't have fed him. You know, it was that bad. It really was that bad to start with. But then when Eleanora was 4 months old, Alex actually did say to me, he admitted to me that he was really struggling.
Well,
you know,
probably didn't say. I think I blew up at one point. I think I was
Oh, yeah, I
probably
think you did.
probably shouted it, but I broke down actually. I just said, look, I'm struggling. This is the second baby is really difficult for me. I can't handle it. How do we do it? You know, when they're both kicking off, you know, and they both want your attention. This is really difficult, and I couldn't handle it. I had so many other commitments as well outside of the family home as well, and just trying to juggle everything for me was really difficult. It felt like a spanner in the works, really, because we didn't plan her. We wanted a second child, but we didn't plan her to arrive at that time because I was finishing my degree and all that kind of thing. So it was so difficult
then
for
COVID
me.
kicked in.
So and I think and
Yeah.
COVID kicked in, but it was really difficult. I had a really, really difficult time, and that's when I had to share that, Anna, you just need to back off me a bit. You know, take the pressure off me. Don't expect me to do as much because I'm finding it difficult. Yeah, I'm struggling this time.
And thank God you said it, because
Yeah.
straight away I was like, oh, okay.
And then you were there to support, because I think that all parents, when you step from one child to two, it's immense. It's immense. I mean, it's immense when you step up to one child. You think that you've got no time, then you have a child and you went, oh, okay, I had a load of time.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I had a load of time. It's all gone now. You add another child to that, and then you're like, what is going on?
Exactly.
So you're in that place. You're bound to be struggling with this step up. What a lot of men might do in that situation, you didn't, you went and spoke to Anna, is stay at work for an extra hour in the evening, or oh no, I've got to go out with the boys for, like, we're having a quick meal to reunion or whatever. And instead of dealing with it, they will brush it under the carpet.
Well, I did that too.
Well, no, yeah, but and that's fine to do that. But at some point, you were like, hold on, no, I need to own up to this and own it. Let's say. There's a lot of people who don't own it. There's a lot of people whose kids are 12, 13, 14 and they haven't stepped up to it yet now. And it's a fear, I would say.
Is that what you think it comes down to? It's fear.
I think that there's a comfort zone that people don't like to be pushed out of. I think that most men would actually, if they were pushed out of their comfort zone and pushed into it, even against their will a little bit, they will adapt to it and be like, do you know what? This is so not as bad as I thought it was. I can so do this, because I think there's a naturalness to caring for people, or just for caring. We all have it inside us. It's whether we'll let it, tap into it and let it out.
Yeah, exactly. No, and I think a lot more men need to.
Yeah,
that's so well put, Nigel. So well
100%.
put.
If a man was standing in the middle of the street and you took a tiny little puppy, put it in his arms and said, "Look, I gotta go," blah blah blah, and left it, you're gonna be like, "Oh." And it's funny how like a man could do it with a puppy or a little animal, but it's a baby, and then they suddenly like go, oh, like it's something different. It's different. Yeah. It's like you've got to care for something and look after it and make sure that it's okay.
Yeah. Well, for me, that's what it was like with when Enzo was born. Instantly, that kind of instinct kicked in, and I was like, I've got to care for this little boy, and I've got to keep him alive, and I just gave it my all. I just really got stuck in and really got hands on, and I loved it. I really loved it. Really enjoyed my time with him, and I feel guilty now for Eleanora because I love her so much now. And I just feel guilty for that 4 months when I did feel bad,
you shouldn't.
because I love doing everything with her now. She's amazing, and for all the times when I think two are hard work, two are also just incredibly
they're
cute and incredibly
they're
fun,
cool.
and just make you feel so loved, you know.
Yeah. But I think everyone
Anna,
goes through that. Yeah, go Nige.
I was gonna say, how was it for you after Alex told you he was struggling, for you to support? What was it like supporting him? What did you notice? What did you see that you could then help with?
Do you know, it's such a great question, and for any guys that are perhaps listening to this, thinking, that they are empathizing in any way, as the partner, please talk to your partner. Seriously, just please talk to them, because I think we want to fix and rescue people. I think, I'm a rescuer anyway, but I think we all want to, particularly with someone we love. We want to see someone that we love having an easier time, and particularly when it comes to sharing kids. We all know it's tough. Now, everyone has their own struggles, sure, but sometimes it's not the place to then wave your flag and be like, I'm struggling too. Sometimes you just have to park yours for a bit and listen to what your partner's saying, because your partner is equally valid. And it's not saying that anything you're experiencing or feeling is not valid anymore or is lessened in any way. It's having the sort of gumption to be able to park that and go, I'm just going to 100% listen to what life is like for them at the moment. And it probably might sound like it comes easy for me in the sense that, because I'm a therapist as well, it is always about taking what someone says at face value, but it is very different in a relationship. It is the one zone that I can't do any of my professional stuff, because there are feelings involved and emotions involved. But when Alex told me that he was struggling, it was a real weight off my mind, because everyone has instinct. I was instinctively thinking, what's up? What have I done something wrong?
So you could feel something. You'd notice something.
Absolutely notice. He was just not as, not that you weren't totally into her and totally loved her, but just wasn't as forthcoming as perhaps. And I thought, is it because I'm so woohoo, loving it? And I thought, no, I don't think I'm taking over. I thought and then you start to think, is it laziness? Does he just not want to feed her or change nappies because he's just been a lazy shit?
Is he going old school 80s dad?
Yeah.
As every chance. He's probably spent too much time with my dad, who was a bit of an old school 80s dad in that respect.
My dad was like too,
yeah, exactly. But I then sort of could tell, I could just feel that it wasn't just that. It was more not being able to cope with sort of the pressure, and the kids. So when he did, and it was, I think, we had a bit of a sort of just a verbal sort of blow up. We'd gone into pandemic. I was suddenly like, shit, I can't cope with 2 kids. I had support before COVID kicked in. I had help. My mum could come around and help me, and suddenly all that was ripped away. And it might sound like I'll get the small violin out, but I had never cared for 2 babies by myself all the time. I'd always had someone around, whether it be a mum or, even just being able to go out and see a friend for coffee. At least I could kind of have some support with it. And I was struggling, and I then got really worried that my postnatal depression might come back. And then, so I was sort of pushing more on Alex at that point, going, well, hang on, we need to protect me here. We need to protect me, that I don't get postnatal depression again. So you need to step up and do more, And actually, what Alex was going through was his own thing. And so when he did, and I think sometimes actually it is okay to have a bloody good, let it all out, like you say, Nige, the pressure cooker. And you did, you admitted it, and you just said you were struggling. And for me to hear that, I needed to hear it. It was helpful for me to hear it, and it made me, like a slap in the face in a good way, go, oh wow, there is a real thing going on. And because I had also had mental health problems postnatally, I absolutely was empathizing in what he might be feeling, thinking, oh my God, if he is feeling anything like I felt with child number 1, he has my heart and my support, because I know what a dark hole that is to be in. So I took the pressure off him as much as I could straight away. And I let him just do whatever he needed to do with no pressure. If he didn't, I just didn't put any pressure on him to have to do anything. He could just do it willingly.
You were great, actually. And I was so glad that I did say something, because it felt like I had the key. Me talking to Anna and just telling her that, it was like unlocking a door, and it just kind of unlocking that door of stress almost, and just kind of alleviating the stress as soon as I told her that, me telling you and talking to you was the key, and
Always
for a
is.
long time I was thinking, how can I make myself feel better? And it was just, that's what I needed to do. I just needed to share it.
The thing is, people talk about it all the time. It's one of those statements that gets banded around all over the place. You know, a problem shared is a problem halved. But until you are actually in a situation where you have a real problem, and you need real help, it's not until you actually let it out and talk to people that becomes real.
Yes.
And it might sound cheesy to someone listening. They might be listening and go, yeah, whatever.
No, but it's true.
But sometimes just talking to someone about, just mentioning it, sometimes you don't even have to get fully deep into the conversation. Just to have mentioned it will take a massive weight off your shoulders.
Absolutely.
And it also helps that partner then know what to do. Like it empowers the partner. There's nothing worse than feeling like you're in the dark and sort of, you know, thinking, well, I don't know what to do, because then you get more ratty, you get more frustrated, you start, you know, and that frustration then manifests in nagging, perhaps, you know, and actually when you are able to take that step back and it's like, well, let's rethink this, fine, what do you need help with? How can I help facilitate that? As you say, it's like pouring, you know, water on flames. Everything just simmers down and you go, right, let's just pick our way through this one step at a time, you know, no pressure. And then as the person that's been told that stuff, you know, that's been communicated to, you just feel more empowered, you feel more included.
Yeah, definitely. I love the way that you guys have worked together. Had it always been a plan from before you had kids to work this way as parents? Because what you're demonstrating is a pure like parenting symbiosis where you like feed off each other. If one person's struggling, the other person's there for them. It's like perfect like family. Let me lift you up when I'm down. All of that. It's not perfect in the way that we don't have problems. It's perfect in the way that we have problems. We will help each other to fix those problems. Had you already, because I know you guys went through premarital sort of like counselling, as it were. Was it a plan to work this way together? Or did you fall into it because of life going, hey, here you go, guys?
I think that was it. We just fell into it.
Flinging manure, Nigel. It's stuck on a wall.
We fell into it, and not straight away. You know, we had to work on it. You know, work to
we
get.
Still do every day.
We still work
every day.
You know, we don't get it right all the time. You know, sometimes it does end up just having an argument. You know, we don't pick each other up, but a lot of the times we do, and we
always do eventually.
Yeah, we do.
We always do eventually, and we've learned. Yeah, we've just learned to sort of, you know, it is dancing that dance really. And you know, Alex and I are both pretty independent. I can be fiery in my own way. Stubborn is probably what you'd call me.
Yeah.
But we have. I think a lot of it as well. I think what's also really important is that our sort of foundations and our values are very aligned when it comes to parenting. We really value family. We really see the benefit of that. You know, that's sort of it's in your bones. You're Italian. Everyone has kids, and you know, is round the table. You know, I came from the same. So we see the real benefit of that, and you know, we see our kids, you know, growing and thriving. And as you say, yeah, of course, we'd be absolutely lying if we said, oh, we're all skipping around. Far from it. We can be fiery buggers. But what I think what we've learned is, we've learned to communicate, we've learned to listen, we've learned to compromise, and we've learned to manage and respect each other's styles in just life in general, and learn to complement them, and also knowing to back up the F off when it's not working as well, you know. And I think that is something we continue to work up. And the only time do you think this is fair? The only time we come unstuck is when we haven't communicated properly and we've let a niggle just go on a little bit too long, and then it will end up in a, but then we'll reset, and then we're good again.
Do you ever worry about our children's mental health, and how will you approach that in the years now as they grow? Because I don't think it's ever too early to kind of prepare our kids for taking care of their mental health.
Yeah, we have started with Enzo actually already. There's this great book.
Awesome.
There's this great book, and I can't remember who it's from or who did it, but it's about a unicorn and his feelings.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh, I know this book. Oh,
I can't remember what it is.
Do you know it with the colours and
with the colours and if you're feeling happy, you're feeling sunny. So
yellow.
you know, and it's yellow. Yeah,
Unicorn's
sunny and yellow
yellow.
is happy, and then you've got anger, which is red, and it's rain or sad when it's raining. You know, and it was a really good way to open up his feelings and ask him, well, how are you feeling? You know, how are you feeling right now? When he was upset, and he'll say, I'm feeling sad. You know. Or on some days it might just be, I'm feeling happy, it's yellow, it's a yellow day, you know, that kind of thing. So that's a great book, and I think through books, it's a great way to start talking about mental health with children, I think.
Yeah.
Little Unicorn, that's
it. Little Unicorn. It's really good. It's a great book. Yeah, I don't know who that's by. And then there's also another little series of books I've got, which is a various sort of animal that it's like elephants angry or something, isn't it?
Hippo didn't tell the truth.
Oh, Hippo didn't tell the truth.
Like that,
and, you know, so that's more sort of behavioural things, but it does tap into feelings and emotions, you know, like being left out, you know, and so it's about, you know, inclusivity and, but then how you manage your feelings as well, you know, when you know, when situations happen. I've practiced, just because I'm into it myself, but I actually have already, he's nearly 5, but I've been practicing mindfulness with him because he does get quite angry and frustrated, you know, and you can see that, you know, build up, that angry sort of, you know, little boy testosterone, just, you know, it all needs to come out. And so I've practiced a few like breathing exercises with him, like on the hand, where you trace your fingers with your finger and you breathe in and out. And again, you know, we use the weather, you know, quite a lot. So that makes me laugh now when I say, right, I think that's just, you know, how are you feeling? I'm feeling really angry, mummy. Okay, and then I'll say, right, well, let's do the breathing. So it's like blowing out a birthday candle. But so he's supposed to do it, you know, slowly, but he'll just go in his sort of angry state. But he does understand it, and I think schools are really good, and nurseries are really good already at sort of naming that. And yeah, I don't think it's ever too early, like you say, Nige, to be able to let them know it's important to talk about how you feel, and you know where their trusted people are that they can tell.
Yeah, definitely. It's great to hear that you're fully on board with that, and because I think it sets our kids up to have a better journey when it comes to mental health and to help other people as well. I think it's really important if they understand it, they're then able to help other people. I was listening to your episode of the podcast when you guys were talking about, you talked about baby groups and how Alex, you went to one and her mother wanted to feed and she, all of that.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned that you've seen the dad groups online and things like that. And at the time you were like, they don't work. Yeah, and I get it. I fully get it. That's why Dadventures is here. What do you think it is that men need differently to be able to start getting to a place like the place you're in, the place where you can talk to your partner or talk to your friends or whatever? What do you think we need to do a little bit differently, or what's going to encourage men to do it? Is it seeing them, like seeing you earlier, be emotional and talk about things? Or is it something else? Is it a different attitude? Both of you, this is too, but Alex first.
Good question. Yeah, no, I think we need to see more of it, don't we? We need to see more men opening up and sharing their experiences and you know, letting their guard down. I think we you know, I don't see it a lot, you know, and I think that is definitely what would help me. But I don't know. It's a funny one. I really don't know. I'm trying to think what would help me, you know, and I really don't know.
What we're trying to do here with Dadventures, and anyone who might be listening to this for the first time, we try and create a relaxed space where it's not just we don't just talk parenting. We will get involved in all sorts of things. So like, say through the Euros, we had a sweepstake. And so, you know, different dads were like, you know, picking teams and all of that. Or every week or two, we'll stick up a sticker where we're curating a Spotify playlist. So last week's Spotify playlist was a reggae playlist. So everyone gets to throw in a reggae track. And it might be ousted if it's not like reggae enough. If it's like soft reggae or like borderline, you know, if it's UB40 reggae instead of like hardcore dub, It might not get accepted. But these kind of fun things that we do just mean that we create a bond and more of a friendship, which means that when we do have a room or a chat about a specific topic, whether it be mental health or my kid's beating up the other kid, how do I stop him from doing that? Whatever it is, we can feel more comfortable to talk about it. Because coming back to what you were saying, I think it's all about talking and talking as a group. And it's a big thing about Dadventures. Yes, we're about helping men, but we're here, 2 men and a woman, and I think we're addressing a lot of the things that men need to hear and need to be talked about. And the fact that we've got a woman here doesn't make it any different to me. You're yes, it's your partner, but you're still comfortable to talk about these things, and I think men would be encouraged to talk about them with their partner. Hopefully, I'm thinking.
And I think you've also just hit the nail on the head with the opening up. And I think you do need to build that community, that sense of community, and a group of people that you feel comfortable opening up to. And I think what you're doing at Dadventures is absolutely great, because that's what you're doing. You're creating that community, that like-minded, being around like-minded people. And so then when you have a hard moment, you can go, oh, well, I'm going to go and talk to David, who I get on really well, that kind of thing. And
I think, what you guys,
he'll get what I'm going through,
Yeah, it sounds like really, what it's all about is trust.
Trust, exactly, trust, and then not being judged. I think, not being judged for feeling that way.
And the reason you're not going to feel judged, unfortunately for men, is when they've seen someone else be vulnerable, because then they say, right, well, you can't judge me, because if you do judge me, I'm going to turn around and lay into you, because you were crying the other week, mate.
Exactly.
So there's that whole being judged thing, and I think when men build that relationship between each other, where we've seen one guy cry, that means if we see another one, no one's going to call it out. Suddenly, the trust builds. And then you feel safe to be able to talk to people. I think that's the key.
I'm not a guy, and I wouldn't even dream to comment other than from listening to what you guys have said. I think it's so refreshing to hear it framed like that. And as you say, without throwing into it, going dark on it, but suicide is such a massive, is the biggest killer of men under 40. And I think you've hit the nail on the head. How do we stop that happening? How do we stop guys, dads feeling isolated, not being able to talk? I think you absolutely, it's about community, it's about trust, it's about building up those bonds outside of the parenting space, which is ultimately that's what's got you together. But so then, because I think it's really difficult, isn't it? And I speak as a mum here as well. It was one of the other girls in my NCT group, typically mums, that opened up that they weren't feeling so great after birth. And it opened up the floodgates for everyone, me included. All it took was for one person, and everyone was, oh, isn't this lovely? Oh, I've got this. And then it just took one person to kind of go, feeling a bit shit. And it was like, God, so am I. Are you really? Yes, I really am. Are you too? Yes, I've been to the doctor. Oh my God, so have I. And then it was like this, oh my God, I can't. It happened at 2 a.m. I remember this WhatsApp chat, and it was one of the most cathartic moments of my life. Fact, at 2 a.m., 10 days postpartum, when someone dropped their guard and was brave enough to fess up to a load of women they'd never really got to know that actually they weren't feeling so great. And it was one of the NCT girls. And at that point, our bond grew and grew and grew, and we were then, could be really open and honest about anyone that needed extra help, what anyone needed. And it normalized it. And I think that's what is so important here, particularly with dads, because it is historically not a tapped into arena, but is as important. I think also to help normalize it would be normalizing the joint role that mums and dads have in parenting. If you're in a heterosexual couple, obviously, I'm talking, specifically about that, demographic. And I think, you're the same,
even if you're in a same-sex relationship, just
absolutely
working together, that whole
Exactly.
being able to talk to each other and share.
It's sharing. Exactly. You're absolutely right. And I think, you, Nigel, we obviously, work in the same arena. I know how present you've always been with your kids. You've been a really present dad. You haven't had your typical 9 to 5. You've brought your kids up, and proudly so. They come to work with you, and you've always been a very proud, active dad. You're the same, Alex. You've been a very active dad, with our children. And I think the more, and I appreciate that's not for everyone, but I think the more as well that sort of co-parenting is celebrated and seen as an option, then there is more parity amongst parents. And it isn't just like, oh, there's dad takes 2 weeks paternity and is a bit absent half of the time, and mum sets all the routines and does the food and everything else. It's like, I think where that normalization comes is that actually, Alex set Enzo's feeding routine. Alex pretty much set everything. Alex set the wind, knew how to wind him more than me, exactly.
Sleep,
Alex did all of that. And I think historically, generations gone by, that would have been seen as a real sissy thing to do. What? The guys have done that? And I think you, Nigel, and you, Alex, you're a great example of active dads that aren't afraid to get stuck in and go, actually, I half created this child. Why does society say that the mum should be the one that has to set all of the parameters around it? Actually, I'm equally responsible, and I'm going to make it work my way, which stands to reason that you need as much support as mums have.
Yeah. The thing is, as well, it's so rewarding. For any dad who was out there who's thinking, it's way more rewarding than you can ever really explain to anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. You can't explain it, can you? That's the thing. You've just got to do it. And when you do it, that's when you know. That's when you know how rewarding it is. And it's amazing the bond that you just build with your children when you are a lot more active.
Yeah. You guys are amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Aww.
There is one thing I need to do before we go, though. And it's the question that we ask all of our Dadventures. And it's this one. So you can answer it separately, and we'll go ladies first. Anna, you can go first, and then Alex, you can go afterwards. So if you could have a parenting superpower, what would it be and why?
This is the best question on the best pod ever. Parenting superpower. It would be right now to turn the volume down to 0. Yeah, on the kids. At the moment, Eleanora is going through that 18-month stage of can't talk, so she'll shout just at everything. Normally it's CBeebies, actually. It's upsy daisy at the moment. So for me, my parenting superpower would be, silence is golden, she says, for someone that talks an awful lot. Having a volume switch where I could just shh.
Boom.
That would be lovely. You?
Love it.
You'd want that on me.
Alex.
That'd be handy sometimes, yeah. I think for me, it would be the power to make my children do as I say. Just, they don't listen to me sometimes, and I would just love it if I could just say, time for bed now. And calmly, quietly, and just say, it's time for bed. You've had your milk, and up they go to bed and set themselves down and go to sleep. That would just make my life so much easier.
Listen, guys, have a lovely rest of your evening. Rest well. Keep taking care of each other. It's inspirational, and I'll see you all soon.
Thanks, Nigel.
Take care.
Love you, babe.
See you. Bye-bye.
Wow. So lovely talking to Alex and Anna. Inspirational parents for me. Working together, helping each other, all for the good of their kids. And isn't that what we all want? So lucky to have them on the show. So there you have it, another fantastic episode. Thank you so much for listening, and if you have time, leave us a review. We'd love to hear what you thought of this episode or of the series as a whole. And don't forget, you can subscribe or follow using your preferred podcast platform to be first to hear the episodes. If you'd like to find out more about Dadventures, head to dadventures.com, where you can find out more information about our live chats, about our meetups, quizzes, blog posts, and more. This has been the Dadvengers Podcast, sponsored by Tonka, because being tough is all about getting out and playing.